And now as we start our third session, which will include 5 speakers. Moderating this session is Professor Urazali Tashmatov of the Uzbek State Institute of Arts and Culture. Since the late 70s, he has published more than 50 articles in newspapers and magazines and is the author of 14 textbooks as well as other publications.
Can we start? Can we start?
Yes.
Can we have interpreted from Russian to English? Can we have?
You want translation into English?
No, in Russian, in Russian.
Oh, Rus.
Russian, Russian.
Yeah, we do not have right now. Please hold.
Do we have interpreted from Russian to English?
I thought we did do. Please hold. Yeah, if possible, can you deliver your presentation in English? Yes. You're moderating. Can you do that in English by any chance?
Can I start in Russian? No?
No, that is not currently available. I do apologize about that.
Urazali, добрый день. Мне кажется, что у нас есть перевод. Посмотрите
Есть
в
перевод?
чат-боксе. Да.
В чат-боксе есть, но я буду говорить, они будут переводить, да?
Ну,
Попробуем тогда, да. Так, доброго времени суток всем. Так как для Кореи и для других восточных стран добрый день, остальным доброе утро. Меня зовут Уразали Ташматов, я профессор Государственного института искусств и культуры Узбекистана. Вопросами нематериального культурного наследия я занимаюсь с 2005 года. И прежде всего мне хотелось бы поблагодарить организаторов данного мероприятия.
Mr. Tashmatov, would it be possible for you to deliver your speech in English?
Нет, у меня на английском же нету.
No.
Мне сказали, что на русском будете выступать, вот поэтому я готовился на русском.
Yeah.
There is interpretation available, so those who are online can actually hear the interpretation.
Okay, those online can hear interpretation.
А для тех докладчиков нету, что ли, да?
Есть.
Can you please wait 5 minutes?
Хорошо.
A quick break time, okay?
Okay.
his moderation in English rather than in Russian, and I welcome him and open the floor.
Доброго времени суток всем. Так как для Кореи и других восточных стран добрый день, остальным доброе утро. Меня зовут Уразали Ташматов. Я профессор Государственного института искусств и культуры Узбекистана. Вопросами нематериального культурного наследия я занимаюсь с 2005 года. Прежде всего, мне хотелось бы поблагодарить организаторов данного мероприятия за отличную организацию. Мне было очень приятно получить приглашение стать модератором данной сессии. Наша сессия будет посвящена вопросам совместной работы и ожидаем выгодам от деятельности сети НКН «Шелкового пути». На сессии будут выступать 5 докладчиков. Каждому докладчику выделяется по 15 минут. После выступления всех докладчиков мы предоставим площадку для дискуссии на 20 минут. Мы думаем, что вопросы, обсуждаемые на этой сессии, будут очень актуальны, и в выступлениях наших коллег будут даны полезные рекомендации по организации совместной работы, а также прогноз ожидаемых положительных результатов. Я хочу предоставить первое слово господину Kwon Ху. Мистер Kwon Ху работал в Корейской национальной комиссии по делам ЮНЕСКО в течение 10 лет. Он был ключевым основателем ИКОМОС Корея и избран заместителем председателя на 4 года. Кроме того, он был генеральным секретарем секретариата Организации городов всемирного наследия Азиатско-Тихоокеанского региона. А также он работал генеральным директором ИЧКАП с 2015 по 2018 год. А в данное время он вносит свой вклад в воспитание молодого поколения Монгольского международного университета в Улан-Баторе. Сфера охвата и определения совместной работы в рамках деятельности сети будет освещен господином Kwon Ху. Господин Kwon Ху, пожалуйста, вам слово.
Shall we start?
Yes, please.
Yes.
We would like to give the floor to Kwon Hu, professor from Mongolia International University. You may start now.
Thank you so much. So how are you? Good morning and good afternoon. I'm very pleased to meet you at this meeting hosted by ichCAP and ICAS. The topic that organizers asked me several weeks ago was something relating to the future direction of cooperation under the Sacral ICC network. I noticed that the organizers asked me to further elaborate some feasible project which could be carried out. It's very important to establish a future prospect and its plans, but I think it would be more effective if they are based on specific fact. But unfortunately, the network is not yet mature and still in its infancy. So I want to tell you first that my presentation is just a general picture of future project. How do you work together? What programs would be good for us? How do we take the right direction? In fact, it's very difficult to take a proper direction of cooperations because the concept of a Silk Road and the concept of intangible cultural heritage is too wide, and its corresponding area is too global. I will share before having discussions on future collaboration under the network, I want to have a time to think about what Silk Road is. I think Silk Road is the path and the route. It's not a fixed concept, but a dynamic and still expanding polysemic concept. And the definition of a Silk Road varies depending on the academic perspective and point of view at time. Silk Road is a symbol. Like many other policies, Silk Road has similarly come to us with the request of the times. At the end of the 20th century, it came to us with the emphasis as a symbol of peace, as a symbol of reconciliation between peoples. The view of the Silk Road is sentimental. However, historically, Silk Road was not only a trade of goods, but also a conflict route of wars. It has a double history of peace and destruction. And how about the word of silk, S-I-L-K? The symbolic word S-I-L-K, silk, is so large that many other important elements of culture are likely to be buried and diluted. As many scholars have said, the concept of Silk Road is sometimes refracted. Silk Road should be one that is at risk of abuse, or commercialization, and political misapplications. Today, the Silk Road countries, including Central Asia, are undergoing great changes. Most Silk Road countries are no exception to the impact of globalization. But most of all, the concern in many areas is that commercialization takes place at a rapid pace. Finally, the concern we find in Silk Road countries is that they are also highly vulnerable to climate change, especially with regard to the safeguarding of intangible cultural heritages. Next, I would like to share my view on the nature of a Silk Road ICT network. The Silk Road ICT network would be a very productive, a very cooperative network, especially under the recognition that ICT is important as a living heritage and as a foundation for the sustainable development. Several dear speakers mentioned about how important the sustainable development. However, there are some issues to consider regarding the nature and the scope of the Silk Road ICH network and the joint activities. It's necessary, first thing, it's necessary to make a decision of a Silk Road more clear and more accurate for future operations. Two, who will operate it? Is it a closed mechanism or a permanent or a temporary network? So we need to define the characteristic of the network. Three, will the network be concurrently conducted online and offline together? Number four, there is another difficulty in ICH gaps, sharing and the utilization of information. Five, how improve the efficiency of the information database. So we have difficulties of how to maintain the accuracy of collected information, how to translate the materials into working language. What about the reprocess of basic information and how to overcome indifference of the general public to encyclopedic information? What is the starting point of the network operation? Fortunately, we have a very wonderful separate document. I'm sure that all necessary network activities should be based on the UNESCO Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, which is to improve important value of intangible cultural heritage, in other words, to enhance visibility. Article 19 of the Convention suggests the content of the cooperation among the countries. It said that the cooperation include, number one, exchange of various information and experiences for ICH protection. Number two, implementation of joint initiatives. And finally, number three, establishment of the mechanism to support members. And next, what direction should be taken for the network? I said, Silk Road is not an easy concept to draw joint collaboration because the region is wide and the related countries have different political and socio-economic systems. I suggest to you the following 6 directions for our consideration of the network activities. Number one, it would be better if we have more different type of a project. Different types of projects are recommended to ensure active participation of various actors. Number two, the spirit of cooperation should be emphasized as much as possible. The 2003 Convention would be a core spirit of mutual respect. 3, to be a successful collaboration, a network must be a structure in which complementary and independent activities are developed in both online and offline directions. Number 4, a joint project should be prioritized, taking into account the budget scale and manpower limitations. 5, the result of the project should help not only to formulate local policies, but also to strengthen the universal value of the international organizations. 6, a joint project can be carried out in various fields, including research, promotion, publishing, and information sharing, etc. In this section, I'd like to introduce some possible programs. I say again, these proposed activities are just ideas based on my working experiences in the field of cultural cooperation and heritage management. Roughly, there are 3 categories of programs suggested. Number 1, strengthening of information, the sharing capacity. Number 2, quality improvement of information. Number 3, the promotion and partnership. Number 1, I have a question. What kind of information do we really want? The Silk Road ICT information can be divided into 2 sectors, administrative information and the academic information. I found that the Silk Road information has been produced by the following UNESCO-related institutes and centers. First of all, the Silk Road online platform, operated by UNESCO, is also a representative online service that provides administrative information related to Silk Road. Currently, it operated as part of the MOST program, which includes 54 countries around the world and include ICH items in the database. On the other hand, ichCAP has been providing the abundant ICH information on Central Asia since its establishment in 2012, and it provides administrative information and academic information at the same time. ICAS and the IISNC are focusing on providing academic information according to their nature, but the amount of ICH information is not enough yet. Now, in this ICH information sharing capacity, I think it's necessary to take proper action to coordinate UNESCO institutions above and the other specialized networks. Currently, ichCAP, which covers the entire Asia-Pacific region, is considered to have the most realistic and strategic advantages as the core information hub for the Silk Road ICH. Number 2, quality improvement of information. In order to provide a high quality of information on ichLinks, it's essential that studies on various topics be conducted in parallel. In the future, I suggest you developing a mechanism that produces advances information for education for research by government agencies, universities, and NGOs. We need to develop different strategies for each target for achieving high quality of ichLinks information. Currently, the databases of UNESCO, the databases of ichCap are mainly composed of a representative list and the basic information on ichLinks of each country. This encyclopedic information seems quite necessary, but it demands us a lot of time and workforce because it should be continually updated. How about the advanced policy research information? I think it could be possible if we carry out a special research on the important global agenda in the Sacral area. I'll give you some example. So we can carry out a special project, research project on the climate change, gender, youth community, the social changes, creativity, etc. Okay, we can encourage the member state to provide good information on the best practice of the community for the safeguarding ichLinks. Also, we can carry out in collaboration with the academic institution what's the nature of the sustainability in Central Asia region, or what is the detailed programs, policies to obtain the sustainability in the community in relation with the ichLinks. And for the benefit of the site manager, we can cooperate to develop the guideline. So the promotion, the preservation and the management guideline, so such as the contextualization, the commercialization, and uncontrolled tourism. So we can work together with the academic institution and the centers to develop the Silk Road manuals, especially in accordance with the new normal time after COVID-19. The joint production of the audiovisual content that can be used by online at the museum, art galleries, at the schools should be strengthened. How about to the promotion and the partnership program? For a successful and sustainable network, it needs to be combined online and offline approaches. I suggest the network should promote various kind of awareness raising event in cooperation with the public and the private sectors. In particular, it's necessary to develop policies to encourage the participation of young people. So we can have a lot of trend from the youth communities, and then we can have many the cooperation from the NGOs, specializing in the youth activities. So we can encourage the contest or the competition programs among the young generation. Why not we develop the publishing project on the Silk Road education, and then we can organize ichLinks festivals, film festivals, or expo. So several speakers mentioned about how important the festival is in the Silk Road area. I totally agree with that. This is a very good initiative, I think. And then we can develop some cooperation project with the international GO and the NGOs. So we have a good partner of the United Nations and the UNESCO, WTO, and the NGOs such as the CF and the ITI or the ICID. So we can work together on a very special day, special way, in connection with the safeguarding of ichLinks. Why not cooperation with a media company? So we are able to get more support from the media partners. So I think that the professional artists might be a very good partner for the promotion of the ICH in the central, in the Silk Road area. So far, I have outlined the direction and the category of various cooperation for the Silk Road ICH network. As I suggested, we needed to make an audit study on the dynamic value of ICH in the Silk Road. So far, studies on Silk Road have developed in various directions with different methodologies and disciplines. You see, all the Silk Road studies conducted mainly by European scholars who had concentrated on archaeology, art history, manuscript, and monument. However, by the 1970s to 1980s, comprehensive studies has been introduced to look at the Silk Road from various perspectives. In these times, we witnessed the formation of Dunang studies, the Silk Road area studies, which were possible by the multidisciplinary approach. The representative case was the integral study of the Silk Road, which UNESCO promoted as one of the United Nations World Decade for Cultural Development. As the project name, the integral implies it carried out with a comprehensive and multidisciplinary perspective. Therefore, it's necessary to establish a more clear position of whether the Silk Road ICH network will operate for regional area studies that has been carried out so far, or whether it will direct to another new scientific approach. This is my concern. Finally, the network should maintain the close-working relation with the UNESCO system, so avoiding the duplication of a project, maximizing the publicity of the result of a project. In the network coordination committee needs to be desirable. Thank you for your attention. This is just the general picture of the upcoming Silk Road ICH network. I do hope there will be much time to develop the strategies and develop the plans together with the experts in the region. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwon. I think we appreciate very much your presentation. And particularly, we appreciate very much for your historical perspectives when you pointed out on interrelations not only with UNESCO, but as well with other UN agencies, other international organizations. As well, we appreciate very much for your, one of the maybe key points that we have to develop network not only online, but as well as offline. So we have to combine different modalities of cooperation within networks. Thank you very much, Mr. Dong Kwon, because we know you very much from the long experience as in the Korean National Commission for UNESCO, as a Director General of ichCap, and now we appreciate very much for your leading in the Mongolian International University. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a next speaker, very esteemed, very respectable person, is a Dr. Jahangir Selimkhanov, Director for Department for International Affairs of the Azerbaijan National Conservatoire. Mr. Selimkhanov is famous for his long-standing studies and research on ICH activities in not only in Azerbaijan, but vis-a-vis different networking cooperation with Asian countries as well as with European Union. So Mr. Jahangir Selimkhanov, now you have a floor from Azerbaijan. Please.
Thank you. So capitalizing on the previous presentation by Dr. Kwon, which gave us a really deep perspective on the state of study of Silk Road, I would like to, first of all, before I will present my proposals for modes and ways of cooperation in our newly born network, I would like to make some general points about on which basis it should be carried out. So based on the notion of cultures, can I ask to display my slides, or should I do that myself? It's a question to the host, please.
Yes, you can present your slides as you...
Okay, thank you. One moment, then I will demonstrate. So, moment.
Very good.
Okay, one moment. I'll. So here we are. I'm going out from the notion of culture as a complex, multi-layered phenomenon. And we should admit that some cultural element or expression may fluidly migrate and adapt itself to different local settings, not necessarily or exclusively serving as a marker of an ethnic identity. Moreover, currently emerging concept of shared cultural heritage allows us to disclose immense positive potential for joining the efforts in safeguarding and enlivening the cultural heritage of the peoples. Connecting various national and local cultures along the Silk Road aims exactly at gaining I would say even the joy of sharing the values, wisdom, creativity, at nurturing the mutual interest and empathy between cultures and peoples, and searching for the common threads across the rich multitude of manifestations of cultural heritage of the West region. The joint initiative by ichCap and ECAS to launch the ICH Silk Roads networking needs support and actions by a wide range of stakeholders, organizations, and groups. On the next page, I would like to draw your attention to one article I have shown the source. So it's from Foundation Review Journal. So there is a dichotomy of network mindset. So instead of institutional, which is growth, and it is the counterpart notion is mission. Instead of growth, we concentrate on mission. Instead of control, we concentrate on trust. Instead of, let's say, focusing on ourselves, we focus on others when we are in a network. And garnering resources is a task of institution or organization, and sharing resources is a main task of the network. And instead of concentrating on particular, we are more projected into the whole. So we need to scrutinize possible tools and measures which might jointly ensure sustainable activity of a newly announced network and lead to fulfilling its high and noble mission. So the conclusions and assumptions regarding the current state of affairs in regard to ICH festivals are primarily based on the research done in Azerbaijan. But it might be presumed that the problems and solutions mentioned here are applicable to other contexts, even so with various degree of approximation. So my first proposal regards supporting online presence and establishing information pool of possibilities for international partnership and collaborations. The survey revealed, the survey which I carried out within this research project, reveals that some, and especially smaller scale festivals, have only basic internet facilities and even could not afford to maintain online their archived materials from the previous editions. A common extended directory database of the network members fitting into a standard template with flexible search parameters, tagging, and a moderate notice board with upcoming calls for partnerships and displays of project pitches open for collaboration would enhance the network tremendously. Reinforcing the forms of active involvement of the audiences into artistic production, programming, discussion, volunteering work. The core idea of participatory value in cultural production, transmission, consumption, and merging hybrid forms of these phenomena is compatible with the ICH perhaps even more than with any other domain of culture. Borrowed from the discourse of new emerging technologies and media convergence, so-called participatory culture implies the sharing and collaboration between authors of every type. Most of the ICH festivals observed by us so far are lacking this very approach of overcoming the passive consumption of the cultural heritage elements. Of course, there are some basic elements of involving festival visitors into the process of, let's say, dancing or singing or cooking, but what is meant here is much deeper engagement of the public into various aspects of making and running a festival. It might regard creative output, programming, management, discussion, promotion. So the next proposal for the discussion and observation is launching festival initiatives encompassing the regions across and beyond the Silk Road. The idea is that multiple cases of cross-border regional and international cooperation between festivals support the idea of so-called win-win situation, which turns to be advantageous or satisfactory to all parties involved. Leveraging the efforts and resources, circulation of new ideas, sharing gained knowledge and experiences do not decrease competitiveness between individual festival organizations, but instead contributes to wider appreciation of ICH. The very notion of Silk Road we use today is meant as rather encompassing and not divisive, insular. Stemming from historically informed geographical fixation, nowadays the name Silk Road is applied in a metaphorical sense as a sign of openness and cultural exchanges, convergence and empathy. In this sense, the inner circle of Silk Road countries and cultures, which we all belong to, in the proper historical geography attribution, could be enlarged towards other regions and cultures with no harm to the integrity and rationale of this cultural initiative. Embracing various ICH manifestations from beyond the core track along the Silk Road must be justified by different approaches. Through the history of shared culture elements, or by evidence of new hybrid symbiotic forms arisen in a result of encounters of the local cultures. Or it might be even simply just by accepting the interconnectedness of all cultures as an essential prolegomena to the global cultural exchange. Now I will briefly mention some possible cases of regional active initiatives. For example, we have discussed this with Mr. Alisher Ikramov previously, and now I'm proud to disclose it before all participants of this event. The idea of establishing a working group on culinary heritage and raising common brand, culinary brand for the festivals. In Azerbaijan, there are several festivals devoted to food culture and culinary. For example, festivals of tea culture, of pilaf, of Eastern sweets, and candies of dolma, of murabba, which is named for fruit jam or preserve. This multitude dispersed over different locations and throughout the yearly calendar of events brought about the idea of uniting these events under a common recognizable brand or trademark, which might be extended towards the similar festivals within the Silk Road region once this proposal gets supported. As such, any food culture festival is doomed to success if it presents inter-ethnic and international panorama. Then another proposal is about establishing a showcase platform for music and dance groups, leading to co-productions between the participating festivals. From international experience, we know that the concept of showcase festivals is now widespread. Well, the most spectacular and let's say convincing example is WOMEX, International Showcase Festival, where participating groups are not paid for their performances, but instead their performances, they are interested in being presented at such kind of event because it is kind of a trade fair, and many festival organizers and venue promoters, concert agents are invited. And so during this showcase program, which is usually very rich, for example, in WOMEX, it's 30 selected showcase performances during several 3-4 days. So I would propose that we maybe create such kind of, and not only WOMEX, there are many regional festivals. For example, there is one, Visa for Music in Morocco, there is one in Canada, and many others. And the same is available also not only about world music, but also in pop or rock music. So showcase festival is a good concept. So I would propose to pick up this idea and think about establishing it within our network. Then joint collaborative marketing campaigns of the festivals. It is also let's say, proven international practice. I remember many years ago, maybe 20 years ago, there was an initiative of French museums of joint marketing, so that small museums which couldn't afford to spend a lot of money for their marketing, they joined efforts together with a blockbuster big museums like, I don't know, like Louvre and Musée Grévin and so on. And so they joined the effort so that all museums appear under the same logo or same branding campaign. So let's think about joining our efforts in promoting each other through our channels of marketing and PR. Then a very important proposal is about peer-to-peer consultations, recommendations, evaluation sessions. I mean, it is jointly instructive and useful, and when you get the outer view from your colleague from different festival, when he or she could contribute to improving your working mechanisms or finding unusual solutions to some common problems and so on. So I think it could be done even online. We are more and more adjusting to working online and remotely. So it doesn't cost a lot, but at the same time, it's really enriching our experiences. And then actually it is the last proposal which I wanted to put into discussion. Is exchange working placements at the festivals of the region for young and emerging festival managers. It's not brand new idea. Actually, as I'm closely associated now with so-called the European Festival Association, because Nasimi Festival of Poetry, Arts and Spirituality, which I have an honor to manage for 2 years. Unfortunately, this year we have had a break due to coronavirus. So we are the members as an SME Festival, members of European Festival Association, and I participate quite actively in their online meetings since the outburst of Corona. And in this organization, there is a well-developed and elaborated mechanism of exchanges and training for young festival managers. So a group of managers, young or emerging managers from different festivals are gathering in some festival, and it's like kind of a working placement for them. and they get their regular training, and also it is kind of experiential learning because they are learning by doing, so that they immediately are allowed to working within some hosting festival. So let's think that it might be also very useful strength of work for our network, that let's say some festival manager from Korea comes to Azerbaijan, or manager from Uzbekistan goes to Iran, and so on. So imagine how enriching it will be for all of us. So for now, that's all what I wanted to briefly deliver.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jahangir Selimkhanov. Just before moving to the next speaker, may I maybe just clarify some issue, because in the morning session, on the session 2, we heard about the presentation from European Association of Folklore Festivals, and your last slide been related with also with European Festival Associations. Is it the same festival? Is the same organization we're talking, or it's a different?
No, it's different.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, because it is nice to have diverse, types of organizations who are working in the field of ICH and in promoting of ICH festivals. And thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much indeed.
We could also think about making a linkage with IFA, European Festival Association. I think they will be happy to consider our proposal.
And here maybe I will just recommend to Secretariat of the conference just to take note, because we're now preparing final document, and such kind of the ideas should be maybe reflected in our final document. Moreover, I thank you for your mentioning some holistic approach, philosophical approach on the ideas of future festivals, to be beyond of the Silk Road, to think more holistically, just beyond of these borders. As well, of course, everybody likes culinary festivals. I think it's appreciate very much you remind us about that, since I remember several culinary related elements being inscribed to UNESCO representative list, like kimchi making traditions in Korea, in both Koreas, in South and North, like Turkish coffee traditions in Turkey, like palav traditions in Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, so, or maybe French gastronomy. So there are many.
Yes.
I remember there's a lavash making. Yes, so there are many like this making culinary elements, and it could be very nice as well to have some thematic networking within the Silk Road on particular subjects. Thank you very much indeed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give the floor to the next speaker. It is expert from ichCap, very young, promising, and prominent expert from ichCap. So I'm giving the floor to the Mr. Sangmook Park, who will share with us something very sophisticated approach. I mean, the approach on ichLinks, one-stop Asia-Pacific ICH information sharing platform. It is very important to be familiar with the new digital approaches. And this case study being presented by Mr. Sangmook Park. Mr. Park, you have a floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Pramod. May I double check if my microphone is working all right? Can you all hear me loud and clear?
Excellent. You're working.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. As introduced, my name is Park Sangmook, and I am a program specialist working at the Information and Research Office of the ichCap. I have joined this team to build ichLinks, a one-stop online ICH information sharing platform in the Asia-Pacific region since the beginning of the project. I will share my screen and get on to the presentation without any further ado. Okay. You may well wonder why and how I came to introduce the ichLinks in the middle of this meeting for the Silk Road ICH network. This presentation will give you a glimpse of the ichLinks, and I hope to present you the concept of how we can apply this to the Silk Road network in the future. Before getting in, please let me give you a little bit of the background to the project. It may not be too far to say that this project basically started from the beginning of the ichCap. As you may well know, ichCap is a UNESCO Category 2 center in the field of ICH, established between UNESCO and the Republic of Korea in 2011. We are working to safeguard ICH in the Asia-Pacific region through two of our key functions, which are ICH information sharing and networking with various stakeholders in the region. And for the last decade, ichCap has conducted more than 200 projects with 48 Asia-Pacific countries, including 85 cases in information sharing, 76 in awareness raising, and 67 cases in networking. While some of them stood alone as independent projects, others were carried out in close relation to one another. With years of hard work, we have collected about 130,000 resources and materials in the form of videos, audios, images, and publications. At the same time, we could also build a huge network of ICH stakeholders, including those representing the government agencies, research institutes, experts, NGOs, and communities. Under these circumstances, we have always felt the need for an integrated system that can enhance accessibility for people to these rich resources and materials. As part of such efforts, we are building ichLinks since 2019. We coined this term as a portmanteau of ICH and links, referring to the potential mutual connections made among ICH stakeholders through the platform. It is important to note that the ichLinks is going to be an open source online information sharing platform where you can not only promote your heritage to the people out in the world, but also meet a wide range of ICH information and content shared by other Asia-Pacific countries. In doing so, ichLinks will serve as a common ground for active cultural exchanges among various stakeholders joining in the platform. This platform is under progress as part of ichCap's function to create and manage an effective ICH information sharing system as prescribed in the agreement on the establishment of ichCap between UNESCO and the Republic of Korea. At the same time, we have also prepared guidelines for partner organizations for effective and consistent platform operation. We will basically follow, as you can see on the screen, a seamless cycle of data collection, processing, and then creative content development. A variety of content produced here will flow back into the database, expanding the size and enhancing the quality of ICH information and data shared through the platform. This will contribute to building and ensuring systematic information sharing cycle as a holistic data ecosystem. The whole process is going to run under the three core values and principles. First, we decentralize the roles and responsibilities among all the partners joining in the platform. Second, we seek openness and sharing in data management. And lastly, we put in efforts to enhance sustainability of ICH through an effective safeguarding ecosystem. Under these circumstances, we have designed the data structure as you can see on the screen. ichLinks provide multiple layers of ICH information and content tailored to the different needs of the various groups. Among the fundamentals are the key resources about ICH elements, stakeholders, materials, and news and events provided from the participating member states. These key resources form the primary layer and provide the most essential data to users with regular updates. In the meantime, these resources in the first layer can be used to create different forms of more appealing content that build up the secondary layer. The secondary layer may include specially curated collections, exhibitions, GIS-based VR and AR content, and digital storytelling content presented with advanced ICT technologies. With this backdrop, we are building a platform prototype with the design and structure as presented on the screen. As you can see, ichLinks will present the most intuitive and straightforward design for people to easily locate and use the target ICH information and content that people are looking for. To look deeper into the menu structure, in the yellow box, we have an integrated archive where you can easily locate ICH elements, stakeholders, relevant materials. In the green box, you will see a variety of specially curated content that is created out of the images, videos, and relevant materials from the archive in the yellow box. Lastly, on the right, we have a separate section to introduce ichLinks, its partners, and our news and events. This structure is subject to changes and will be updated with up-to-date content on a regular basis for people to enjoy a variety of timely ICH content through the platform. The archive, which forms the primary layer of the data in the ichLinks, is presented in the yellow box on the screen. If you click here on the archive tab on the number 1, you can see this page that shows the entire archive structure at a glance. Here you can easily find any ICH information on the search bar on the number 2, and this will be the easiest way to search something from this platform. And if you're looking for an information on the element called Tari Validens from Indonesia, and if you already know the name of this element, you can simply type its name on the search bar and get the desired information. And if it is not the case, you can click the number 3 on the ICH elements section, and then you can select the expected domain, country name, and other plausible criteria of the Tari Validens. And then you will see the results as you can see on the left, and you can get to the individual elements brief description, related resources, stakeholders, and articles all at a single page. Or you can use a map to browse elements. In the ICH map, you can filter the search conditions by domains, countries, and region, and narrow down its geographical location on the map and acquire the desired result. And secondly, in the ICH material section, you can explore whatever resources and materials that are available on the platform. And in the stakeholders page, if you're looking for an expert, you can directly get to the list of the stakeholders and browse the target figure with your desired criteria. And communities, organizations, and other individuals can also be retrieved in the same manner. Further to these, in the government focal point section, here you can easily locate which organization to reach first for building a strong basis for cooperation with a specific country. And lastly, all these archive materials can be grouped and labeled by different themes and topics that you'd like to, that we would like to introduce to you. You can also select the media type, region, country, and domain to get a little bit more detailed information. We have so far looked into the primary layer of the information and content, and a set of the data in this layer will be recreated with digital technologies to produce some more appealing content, as you can see in this green box on the numbers 3, 4, and 5. The content curated as such would come in a variety of forms, such as ICH Journey, ICH Exhibition, and ICH Story that we are developing this year. And more will come with various ICH information and content flowing into the platform. As for the ICH Journey, this will introduce the beautiful Asia-Pacific cities from heritage-focused perspective and with different topics. Nowadays, we can see online a number of travel information pages that introduce well-known tourist attractions. They often deliver information in quite a one-sided way, and the overflow of these travel pages make it quite difficult for people to locate useful information or understand the genuine values of these cities. Meanwhile, ichLinks introduces Asia-Pacific cities in relation to their rich cultural heritage and tourist attractions. And in doing so, people will see not only your rich cultural heritages, but also the stories hidden behind them. And this will definitely amplify the scope of their travel experiences and bring more economic and development opportunities to the cities. Second, thematic exhibitions will also come in the first year with a variety of topics. You can see the specially curated set of photos and videos under the theme of South Asian masculine dances, Siberian shamans, and nature, voyagers in the Pacific, and the nomadic lives in the highlands, as in Central Asia. And third, ICH stories tell you the real stories of the ICH elements that are featured in various ethnographic films. You can see how ICH's used were reflected in various movies curated in tune with their sociocultural context. Fourth, interviews and articles will be released to introduce hidden stories of ICH practitioners that can inspire the future generations. Please bear in mind that all these will, we will introduce a lot more and more content according to the changing needs of the time. To make a long story short, we believe that this ichLinks is going to be the fastest gateway to ICH in the Asia Pacific, and it is going to be also an efficient window to promote your ICH to other countries. And most importantly, you can create bigger values using the original sources from other countries. We believe that this open source information sharing platform will enhance sustainability of ICH and related industries. And it will further promote ICH communities and enhance efficiency in ICH safeguarding after all. In conclusion, we believe that ichLinks will bring your heritage into life. If you keep your heritage in your closet, people out in the world will never be able to learn about your grandfather's and your grandmother's achievements. But if you share it through ichLinks, you can not only promote your heritage to the people out in the world, but also contribute to enhancing you and your country's reputation. For more information, please visit our website at unesco.org/ichlinks, and you may contact the ichlinks secretariat or address questions directly to me at mook@unesco.org. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Park Sangmook. After the two more speakers, we will have some final discussions time. And may I request you to prepare in advance one of the questions we are planning to ask you after it. The question is going to be on to what extent the ichLinks could be integrated to the Silk Road online platform of UNESCO. Just to be prepared maybe for the question, I'm not asking you to reply now because we have one of the speakers who will be, last speaker will be present paper on this issue on the Silk Road online platform. But I will request you to prepare to what extent ichLinks could be integrated inside of the UNESCO platform on the Silk Road online platform. Is it okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, is it okay? So I'm asking you not answer now, but to be prepared for the last session when will be question time. Okay, Mr. Park? So agreed. So ladies and gentlemen, you can see from the morning that we have beautiful, excellent presentations in session 2 and now session 3. But one question raised in my head. We are very, very much genderly imbalanced. And that's why so I have great honor and pleasure to invite next speaker and to keep generally balance among speakers to distinguish speaker. She is Ms. Krista Pikkat, Director of UNESCO Almaty Cluster Office. Krista Pikkat working in UNESCO more than 20 years. She worked in UNESCO headquarters, after working in headquarters, now she became UNESCO Director Office in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Now she's looking after Central Asian countries, being Director of UNESCO Almaty Office. So Ms. Krista Pikkat will share with us the outcomes of the recently ongoing, maybe it's still I think ongoing project of the European Union and UNESCO on, how can I say, promoting the safeguarding activities on tangible and intangible cultural heritage. So Ms. Krista Pikkat, are you here?
I am here indeed, Alisher Akka.
Wow, wow. You're killing us. Krista, please, you have a floor.
I will try to share my screen. Let's see whether I manage to. Okay.
It's a fashion show.
And I have to, how can I actually?
Yes, it's okay. We can see.
You can see what
we can see your presentation. Just on the bottom, maybe you have to put to the slideshow on the bottom. Yes. Yes. Next. Yes, this one. Yes.
Okay, excellent. So
because I have small bags in your office, and I'm watching you.
Very good. So, as the moderator already announced, I will speak to you about UNESCO's action in the area, or in the region of Central Asia, as far as intangible cultural heritage is concerned, and zooming in on a project that is a partnership project that we have together with the European Union. But first, let me just give you a little insight into the rich and diverse intangible cultural heritage of the region of Central Asia. As you see, it is very diverse, and when we only look at these elements that have been included from the 4 Central Asian countries that the Almaty office covers in the representative list of intangible cultural heritage, there are already 31 elements that have been included. And it's interesting also to observe that many of these elements are not specific to one country only, but are shared heritage. So these are, this gives you an indication of the rich exchanges that have throughout the centuries actually been established and happened in the region of Central Asia, which, as we know, lies along the Silk Roads. There are also many challenges which can be turned into opportunities related to intangible cultural heritage. The first one I want to flag is the question about succession and transmission. Because in many of these countries, intangible cultural heritage historically was transmitted from parents to children, from masters to disciples. And of course, in modern times, these transmission is often disrupted. And it's moved to a certain extent to formal educational environments, but sometimes we also observe that the young generation is less interested in actually bearing and carrying these heritage and traditions forward. We also see a big threat of the market influence and commercialization, and this actually puts especially the regional diversity and specificities under threat, with handicrafts masters, for instance, starting to use materials and techniques that were not traditionally used in the handicrafts from the region. One of the key challenges, I think, also concerns rather little interaction between the different key stakeholders that work or are concerned with intangible cultural heritage. And I'm referring here to government officials, of course, who have to shape the policies and laws through educational and institutions and research institutions, scientists who actually carry out the research, to the wider public and practitioners. So we should actually focus much more efforts on making sure that there is collaboration between these two parties, so we have comprehensive approaches to the safeguarding and promotion of intangible cultural heritage. All the countries of the region have ratified UNESCO's 2003 convention, yet we see also that the knowledge and understanding of the convention sometimes is limited. As is limited the integration of ICH elements in educational programs, especially in the formal education system, as well as in other development strategies and plans, but also the coverage in the media. And this is often related to the lack of resources. So what is UNESCO's response to these challenges? There are actually many ways in which UNESCO can support our member countries, starting from ICH safeguarding needs analysis that we can conduct to the documentation of these elements. Of course, capacity building of different stakeholders has a very central role in UNESCO's action. But we also work to promote these elements by raising the awareness of the communities and of the public at large, and also integrating it into the educational programs. So now turning to UNESCO's action in Central Asia, we have a large project that was already mentioned. It's a EU-UNESCO partnership project on the Silk Road's heritage corridors. But there are other initiatives like the one, for instance, Education and Culture Together in Action to Advance the SDGs, that was launched by the UNESCO headquarters recently, and that aims to support member states in the achievement of education and culture-related SDGs. But I should also like to mention a recent initiative that is called Safeguarding ICH in Formal Education in Central Asia, that the UNESCO Almaty office will be implementing together with APCEU and ichCap in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, and that aims to work with some associated schools on the integration of intangible cultural heritage elements in the formal education system. And this builds on a previous experience we had with a similar activity in Uzbekistan. So now turning to the case study, that is UNESCO European Union Silk Road Heritage Corridors in Afghanistan, Central Asia and Iran, the project that was launched on the occasion of the International Dimension of the European Year of Cultural Heritage in 2018. This project really allows UNESCO to look at the two sides of the same coin. So on the one hand, UNESCO has been promoting what we call intrinsic value of culture. So we are really promoting the safeguarding and preservation of both tangible and intangible cultural heritage that exists in these countries. And then the other side of the coin is the economic dimension of culture. And there we try to help the communities build sustainable livelihoods, building on this heritage, in particular through heritage-based tourism development. But the European Union project also has a very strong component on awareness raising and the promotion of, in particular, the common cultural heritage along the Silk Roads. So the project activities actually are rather varied. We have identified one World Heritage listed or a future World Heritage site in each of the participating countries that we focus on to valorize this site either through conservation or restoration works, and then also trying to promote it through the establishment, for instance, of the Information Center for Tourists. We also support member states on the development of destination plans and tourism strategies in order to promote sustainable tourism on these World Heritage sites, but also combining intangible cultural heritage in this package. The project also allows us to support member states in the development and revision of management plans for the sites that have been already included on the World Heritage List or are on the tentative list. This, as you know, is one of the obligations of a 1972 convention for the state parties. Then a very central role of our activities is on capacity buildings of different stakeholders, starting from ICH bearers through the managers of the World Heritage Sites and the tourism guides and also local authorities. And then last but not least is the awareness raising component that actually is focusing on the development of a joint exhibition that we are putting together on the basis of some selected artifacts from the national museums of the participating countries. And that we plan to have first as a virtual exhibition and later on, when the COVID pandemic is past us, also as a traveling exhibition. And then last but not least, I would like to mention also some of the ICH related activities that we have been conducting. The first one you see is ICH elements inventorying in Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. This is a area where we focused actually on the capacity building of 137 ICH bearers. And by making sure that the communities know how to do the inventorying of the ICH elements in these countries, we actually ended up with 12 new ICH elements in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan alone. The second activity that is mentioned in this slide is the efforts that we have made to safeguard and promote one ICH element in Kyrgyzstan, which was actually in the list of ICH in need of urgent safeguarding measures. And this concerns the traditional felt carpet making of Kyrgyzstan, but also actually Kazakhstan. And there are two different types of felt carpets, shirdak and alakiz. So our efforts there focused very much on consultations with all the key stakeholders, formulation of recommendations for safeguarding and promotional measures, and then a series of master classes, especially for young people, in the framework of which we managed to reach out to 1,500 young people in Kyrgyzstan to sensitize them and also let them try and experiment on the felt carpet making themselves. You also see mentioned here the ICH safeguarding needs analysis that was conducted in Tajikistan, and that also allowed us to formulate recommendations for those elements that are in need of safeguarding. Also the capacity building of handicraft masters and promotional local crafts in Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. Similar activities were also conducted in Iran. And these activities actually, we are targeting handicrafts masters, but we are exposing them to different kinds of skills that they need in order for them to successfully market their product. So there are also trainings on legal aspects and marketing and communication. Here, a few other examples. The first one concerns the Silk Road Heritage Guide Handbook that UNESCO had previously already developed together with the World Tourism Organization. So in the framework of our European Union project, we took the handbook and we integrated intangible cultural heritage elements into this handbook. We also translated it. And this has allowed us to conduct a series of trainings for Silk Road Heritage tourism guides in the region, which we feel is very important, so that when especially tourists come to the region to visit the heritage sites that are related to heritage of the Silk Roads, that they can really contextualize these sites, and they can also demonstrate these interactions that had happened along the Silk Roads that are not only economic, but also, of course, cultural, including intangible cultural heritage related. And here, the last I did mention is also the a very successful media project that we implement, and that is called Women of Central Asia. And this is actually a let's say human stories of some women craftsmasters in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Uzbekistan. That allow us to demonstrate the handicrafts masters, their way of living, how they actually use these intangible cultural heritage for their livelihoods, but also how they transmit these skills and knowledge to the future generations. So we have a very nice series of videos produced about these stories that have enjoyed wide media attention and many clicks on our Facebook page. And I already mentioned these, also the capacity building elements that have been conducted in Iran. So I will perhaps stop here and then look forward to the discussion later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Krista Pikkat. You're usually very concise and very, I mean, of course, we can listen to you for more than hours, but I think maybe during some of our discussion and final document from your presentation, if you allow me, may we propose that your example is a brilliant example of intersectoral approach, because your project is covering both, not only cultural dimensions, you're covering communication dimensions, you're covering educational dimensions, you're covering issues which is one of the priority of UNESCO, empowering of women. So it is very more important when you're doing also marketing skills for the handicraft masters. It's empowering of people. It's eradication of poverty. So it means that this project has objectives on many goals of sustainable development goals. I mean, not only which is related with the cultural heritage. Thank you very much, Ms. Krista Pikkat. And for the Secretariat, may I request to put this idea of an intersectoral approach, which is UNESCO Almaty is promoting through this one of the project. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have the last speaker in our session 3. Why we put him last? Why? Not because he is not so senior, but because of time difference between Seoul and Paris. It's 8 hours. And I don't know, Miss Mehrdad, are you wake up? Wake up, Mehrdad, are you here? Because I know this just I remember your communication with Secretariat that when they proposed you 4 o'clock in the morning, you told, oh, it's too early. And we saw the presentation from Philippe Brissot where he was in the dark room because I think it was 5 o'clock in the morning. But now you wake up, you take a coffee already, croissant, everything ça va, huh? Okay. So Mehrdad, so with great pleasure, I'm giving the floor to Mehrdad Shabahang, who's director of the project of UNESCO from its beginning, which is called Silk Road Online Platform, which been adopted by General Conference several years ago. And Mehrdad started as an intern and became consultant, now the staff member of UNESCO. And he is working in this social and human science sector, looking after this very important project, which we're calling Silk Road Online Platform. Mehrdad, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ikramov. Indeed, it's a pleasure here today to see my friend, my old friend, Mr. Ikramov, and also other friends that we had this pleasure of working with. And if the secret program of UNESCO nowadays is arriving here, is thanks to their, let's say, inestimable support. Dear friend, I know that being the last speaker is somehow difficult because everybody probably is a little bit tired of different speeches, but I try to go fast. Indeed, my colleague Krista presented a very important initiative for the UNESCO's activities on the Silk Road in Central Asia. Allow me now to present you, I try to be very brief, the Silk Road program as a whole, and then indeed, a special part of this program that is in direct link with the intangible cultural heritage and can provide us, let's say, outstanding opportunity of collaboration that we can see. Allow me to share my screen with you, my friends, just a moment. And I think you see my screen now. Am I right? Do you see this PowerPoint? Is it possible someone confirm just you see my screen or no? Mr. Ikramov, do you see my screen? Okay, great. So dear friends, allow me very quickly to start with the Silk Road's, let's say, program. Indeed, at the beginning when we launched this, the second phase of this program, almost 8 years ago, we started with a new initiative that was titled the Silk Road Online Platform. But indeed, after almost 8 years, as the program has become very vast, now it's a program. As you see from this picture that was taken in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan, this region is at the heart of the Silk Road program of UNESCO. Why we, let's say, undertake this program? What is the, let's say, objective of this program? The Silk Road program is right now undertaking within the framework of the United Nations 2030 agenda, especially SDG 16. And also it advocates for the intercultural dialogue, mutual understanding and respect, as well as social inclusion and cohesion in view of reinforcing sustainable peace and development. So this is our major, let's say, goal. Allow me to provide you with a very brief, let's say, overview of the objectives of this program. As the encounters, let's say re-encounters and interactions along the Silk Road have played a vital role in connection of cultures, peoples, individuals across many borders, the Silk Road program offer let's say, instructive example of long-lasting legacy of exchange and influences and collaboration. Also, the Silk Road in general, they provide a different perspective on development and social transformation of modern plural societies due to the different cultural interactions and movement of the people. And also, since 1988, almost 32 years ago, the Silk Road program has sought to capture better understanding of rich history and shared legacy of this that has been developed along the Silk Roads. And finally, this program seeks to promote the intercultural dialogue, mutual understanding, and social cohesion, as I just mentioned. This is, let's say, the scope of what we generally consider as the Silk Road's, let's say, geographical scope. This map has been developed after almost 30 years of studies by UNESCO and different, let's say, institutions around the world. As you see here, we have tried to present the network of what we call, the network of routes that we call them in plural Silk Roads. You see the overland roads here at the top. Then you see the maritime roads. Then you have also the access through the auxiliary road. Indeed, this map is available on the UNESCO Silk Road Program website that you can easily see it, and also you can download it for any kind of usage that you may need. The phase one of the Silk Road Program of UNESCO, during the presentations, I heard from other speakers, especially my colleague Krista, and also our distinguished friend, Mr. Jahangir from Azerbaijan. They raised the subject of the Silk Road Program or Silk Road Project of UNESCO. Indeed, the first phase, as you know, was launched in 1988, and then it was continued up to the 1997 in the framework of the International Decade for Cultural Development. And it aimed to highlight the cultural interaction between the people of Eurasia. Within this first, let's say, phase, especially 5 major expeditions were organized in China, and then in maritime road between Italy to Japan. The 3rd expedition was in Central Asia by passing through 5 Central Asian, let's say, republics, Azerbaijan, I'm sorry, I do apologize, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan. The 4th expedition was the Nomad Road in Mongolia in 1992, and finally the Buddhist roads in Nepal. These are the major activities that were organized within the first phase of the program. Also, as an outcome, other outcome of this program, hundreds of seminars, conferences, exhibitions, and performances were organized within this program during these 10 years. And finally, thousands of research papers, photos, films, and etc. were developed through this program. As you may see, this is a an image or a picture of the one of the first consultation meetings of the program that was organized in Xi'an, China in 1989, 30 years ago, 31 years ago. The phase 2 of this program. This second phase was launched officially in 2013 in Almaty, Uzbekistan, as you see this picture here, especially my friend, Dr. Voyakin, as you see him here, was present, and it was thanks to the support of especially Kazakhstan that we could launch this second phase. And through this second phase, what is the major goal is to, in the current increasingly, let's say, globalizing world, the Silk Road program seeks to raise awareness about the shared heritage and plural identities of people living along these roads as a basis for reconciliation, dialogue, and social inclusion and cohesion. Moreover, this second phase aims to implement, or let's say achieve its objectives through 3 major initiatives or activities. First, through youth empowering. Secondly, through building partnership and networking. And third, through development, let's say develop, mobilize, and disseminate knowledge about the Silk Road's shared heritage. I go to each of them one by one. As I mentioned, the first, let's say, acts of the program is youth empowering. One of the major activities that we are right now organizing in this respect is the Youth Eyes on the Silk Road photo contest. And then we just launched a new initiative, Silk Road's Youth Research Grant. The annual photo contest is gathering the young people around the world and encouraging them to, let's say, capture what represents for them the shared heritage of the Silk Road. Also, the participants are between 14 and 25 years old. In the first edition of the contest, we had 6,600 photos submitted from 100 countries around the world. And in the second edition, we had more than 3,500 participants. And then we narrowed down the subject of this second edition to 3 major elements of the shared heritage of the Silk Roads: food production, music and dance, as well as traditional sports and games. And now we are planning to organize the 3rd edition of the contest within coming weeks. And also, as an outcome of this photo contest, we are organizing a traveling exhibition of the best submitted photos to the contest. The second initiative of this youth empowering is the Silk Road Youth Research Grants. The Silk Road Youth Research Grant aims to empower young scholars to identify and promote the shared heritage and plural identities along the Silk Roads by means of their scientific research. Each year we are planning to provide 12 research grants to 12 young scholars under 35 years old. And in line with the Unesco Management of Social Transformation Program, grantees will later be invited to the workshops on the Silk Road shared heritage in order to share the outcome of their research with local young researchers. The second act of this program, as I mentioned, is the building networks and partnership. To this end, we have developed an international network of focal points of the Silk Road program. This network, as you see here, the photo, was launched in 2015 in China, in Xi'an, in the same city that the program was launched for the first time in 1988. And it aims to involve as much as possible the member states into the activities of the Silk Road program of UNESCO. The network also facilitates the exchange and synergy amongst the Silk Road initiatives of different countries. And finally, up to today, we have 23 member states that have designated the focal points to be part of this network. So this is, as I told you, the photo of the first meeting of the network in China. Now the third, let's say, act of the program is develop, compile, and disseminate knowledge on the Silk Road's heritage. To this end, one of our major activity is the Silk Road online platform. It's a website or some sort of a database that I will present it later, that tries to promote the shared heritage of the Silk Road. Also, we are right now developing an interactive atlas. and also a thematic collection of cultural interactions along the Silk Road. With regard to the platform, as I mentioned, this platform or the website or the database aims to compile and disseminate on a weekly basis knowledge on the shared heritage and plural identities along the Silk Roads in English, Chinese, Arabic, and Russian. Also, it promotes different initiatives on the Silk Roads around the world. And this is the link of the platform that I invite you to visit and also to see how does it work. Now, here are the core activities that I do think that is related to the activities of ichCap and also ICAS, that certainly we can find fields of collaboration within this interactive atlas and also the thematic collection of cultural interactions along the Silk Roads. First of all, this project aims to identify and promote concrete fields and elements that have facilitated and have generated from the cultural interactions and exchanges along the Silk Roads. It also targets experts and also general public, and it's retraced the historic and geographical imprints of these exchanges along the Silk Roads. Also, it tries to illustrate the various pathways and networks that developed and facilitated the circulation of ideas, lives, knowledge, crafts, goods, and instruments along the Silk Roads. And finally, in total, this project has identified 18 thematic themes that will cover the shared heritage of the Silk Roads in different, fields. If I want to summarize this initiative, you know, everybody after almost 3 decades of advocating for the Silk Roads as the roads of dialogue, exchange, interaction, knows very well the importance of these roads in general. But what we try now to do through this project is to concretely show what has been the outcomes of these exchanges, what has been resulted of these interactions along the Silk Roads for over 2,000 years. To this end, as I mentioned, we have identified 18 themes as I present you here. As you see, the first is architecture, traditional sports and games, agriculture and botany, astronomy, navigation, calendar making and astrology, food production and gastronomy, textile and clothing, medicine and pharmacology, paper making and printing, ceramics, porcelains, pottery, tile and glasses, coinage and medals, language and literature, religion and spirituality, musical instruments and themes, traditional painting, miniature painting, calligraphy and manuscripts, carpet making and decorative arts, artistic performances, and finally, philosophy. As I mentioned, we try now within each of these 18 themes to show concretely what is the outcome, for example, of exchanges in the field of traditional painting, in the miniatures. Now everybody knows that originally these kind of miniature are coming from the East Asia, from Japan, Korea, and China. But then they were passed to Central Asia, and then they took the, let's say, cultural level of Central Asia, and it became even more interesting, more, expressing, if I may say. And then it went even to Anatolia and Turkey by passing through Iran, Afghanistan, everywhere. So we want to show this concretely for general public indeed. Or in the field of, let's say, calligraphy is the same thing. So far, we have launched these themes, food production and gastronomy, music and musical instruments, traditional sports and games, textile, clothing and accessories, religion and spiritualities. For instance, in the level of music and musical instruments, it was interesting for myself that one of the major musical, let's say, shared heritage along the Silk Road, especially from Mongolia to Turkey by passing through Caucasus, Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia, is Mugham. Certainly, you know Mugham music that is shared by all of these nations. But we tried here to show how it traveled from one region to another region, how and then it became diverse, and how it is now shared as some sort of ethnic and national heritage by different people along the Silk Road. Also, we are planning to launch these themes in short, arts and artistic performances, miniature and traditional painting. Especially, we had an exchange with Academy of Arts of Uzbekistan, and they are very interested in order to support us for this. We are planning to launch the carpet making theme with support of Carpet Museum of Azerbaijan, that they want to support UNESCO for developing the content of this theme. For calligraphy also, we are now discussing with Iran and also with Japan that they are very interested to support this calligraphy theme. And architecture with China, especially Tsinghua University of China, that are they expressed their interest to support and develop this content. I have to add also that the theme on the traditional sports and games, I do apologize, the theme on the textile and clothing and accessories right now is under development in partnership between UNESCO and China National Silk Museum. And it will be the first volume of the collection that will be published hopefully by next summer in 2021. As I mentioned, I see so much potential of collaboration between UNESCO Silk Road Program and now this networking of ICH for development of this project. Dear friends, I stop here. Yeah, let me show you just a photo of our first meeting that was for development of the content of the gastronomy and food production. As you see, we were in Mongolia, and we organized this meeting under the Mongolian, they don't say yurt, there's another name that I forgot, I do apologize. It was in 2018. And following this meeting that we had the experts from around the world, we started to develop and almost finish the content of the gastronomy and food production. So thank you so much for your attention. Allow me, before finishing, I just show you the Silk Road online platform, the website of the program that I showed you. I don't know if you see my, yeah. I showed you the link. This is the, let's say, platform. And I encourage you to visit this platform. Indeed, you have our contacts, everything here, and you can contact us if you have any question, and also if you have any ideas for enriching this program. I stop here, and I'm at your disposal to follow this. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much. Really, it's very comprehensive information you presented us. And I think maybe you had already one of the previous speakers. I asked him already to answer a question to what extent his platform could be integrated to your platform. And he's thinking already. It's Mr. Park from HCAP. And for Mr. Jahangir Selimkhanov, I would like to say that Jahangir mentioned on culinary festivals. And the Mehrdad organized 2 years ago in Mongolia already. He's a very good cooker. He prepared big gastronomy festival in Mongolia. I think it was like thematic studies on gastronomy. It was in Mongolia, and they could share to what extent it could be continued for this point of view, from this point of view. And Mr. Mehrdad, in your 18 thematic studies, I think you forget one of them, 19th, because one of the morning session 2, it was very nice presentation on martial arts. So why not, if you're thinking about the martial arts, one of the direction, because I think it was Mr. Kim's presentation in the session 2, when he mentioned about the networking of 7 festivals of martial arts. Just as information, I don't know, because you were sleeping at that time, maybe that's why you didn't hear this presentation. It was too early in Paris time, but it's just like information for you. I mean, I will try to this networking with you, to contact them with you.
If I may, just add, Mr. Ikramov, we indeed cover the martial arts, and it is part of our theme of traditional sports and games. These traditional sports and games also, if you want, we have identified already 6 major subjects under the traditional sports and games: martial arts, wrestling, cognitive games, children games, another one, if I have to think about it, but indeed we cover the martial arts, indeed.
Okay, thank you very much for clarification, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, since the shortage of time, I would like to ask one question to be replied by everybody, if you allow me. And of course, Mr. Park, this question actually related with the issue which I ask you to answer as well. The issue is related with the current challenges with everything in the world, with artificial intelligence. What do you think? To what extent? Because Mr. Kwon, in his morning presentation, he mentioned about that we have to continue networking offline and online. And if we are talking about online networking, I think one of the forthcoming challenge in front of us is artificial intelligence, which is coming to every sides, every walks of our life. And from your point of view, to what extent artificial intelligence could be essential tool for promoting of this Silk Road ICH network? To what extent we get to consider, because I know by Krista Pikkat, she long time was looking after communication sector. She knows very well artificial intelligence, and she's doing many, she has many ideas on artificial intelligence. And particularly currently, I think Unesco also promoting this idea of artificial intelligence, how to ethical aspects of artificial intelligence and many other aspects. But it's coming to our life. We have everywhere already in cultural industries, we have already many elements of the artificial intelligence, like artificial painters, artificial authors of the book, etc. So my question again, from your point of view, artificial intelligence and the expecting Silk Road ICH networking, how it could be, what the challenge here, maybe, well, just briefly, your proposal. So maybe we will start with respect to Mr. Kwon from you, because it was your presentation when you stressed out that online platform should be developed. And what's your view from philosophical view? Mr. Hu, please. Dr.
Thank you, Alisa. Yes. So it was a very wonderful time to gather much knowledge on the UNESCO activities relating to the Silk Road. So I'm the regional national coordinator of the integral study of the Silk Road a long time ago. I has been working for the National Commission for UNESCO. However, nowadays the situation is quite different at that time. In the 1980s, and today is quite different. So taking into account the development of the communication and the skills and the communication capabilities among the people. Now, I think in order to promote the cooperation and the collaboration among the stakeholders, we needed to maintain the spirit of the cooperation at the first. What is our real goal of the collaboration? So without achieving the common sensibility among the members, we are not able to anything at all. So I think maybe the ICHCAP and the ICAS needed to set abroad kind of the common the sensibility among the member states. Why we start this kind of the program now? So we are now facing many challenges. As I mentioned in my presentation, many countries along the Silk Road faces the very serious globalization impact. So our young generation, they don't have interest in the traditional way of life. I was in the Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Many young generation want to live in the cities, not their home. So it is the social crisis and the social isolation, and then this is the destroy of the traditional way of life. So actually, we don't have any the concrete action to be taken. So we are very happy to establish the ICH Silk Road ICH network. Now is a time. We needed to maintain? We need to establish the concrete philosophy, the concrete philosophy among the members.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kwon. Yes, thank you. I understand. I understand your concern. Krista, you are maybe also have more information about AI. What do you think AI and Silk Road platform, online network? Just in 5-10 seconds, just maybe
Yeah,
we should
I think I will probably let my colleague elaborate more on the online platform, because when we look at the activities that UNESCO conducts on the Silk Roads in the region, it's a little bit far away from artificial intelligence and megadata at this juncture. But we, of course, we saw the impact of the COVID crisis on our lives, and the fact that we were no longer able to even conduct face-to-face meetings. Yeah. So most of the capacity building activities were now moved online. Of course, with a kind of mixed package of success, because in some countries this was quite easy. In other areas, for instance, when our target groups were in mountainous, remote areas, we had some challenges of connecting people to participate in these meetings. But we do actually have revised the concept or the approaches of the Silk Road project a little bit in light of the sort of move towards online era.
I see.
And the fact that we now, as I said, are working on a virtual exhibition on the Silk Roads and digitizing the artifacts of the museums. As well as we are collaborating with the another organization which works with support from European Union on e-commercialization, trying to help craftsmasters actually have an online presence so that they can sell their products online. But I'm sure that
I understand. And Mr. Selimkhanov, what do you think? I understand. What do you think briefly on artificial intelligence?
What I would say is that you are now touching extremely interesting area, so which couldn't be now discussed very briefly. I think maybe it should be a topic for a next meeting, because we all have to think about. But what I should tell now from the onset is that what you call, artificial intelligence is about big data. So there could be a lot of information put for machine learning in order to produce new forms and to see the mechanism.
New knowledge. Yes, new knowledge. Yes.
No, this is the first task. The second is that more immediate applications could be what is called AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality, VR, AR and VR. So I think it's good prospects to work on this direction in order to spread and disseminate our heritage on new tools. So
thank you. And Mr. Park, so now first question, just briefly, yes or no, could you integrate to the Silk Road online platform your ichLinks? Yes, no?
I think yes.
Yes, no? Yes, okay. Second question, artificial intelligence, what do you think? To what extent is possible to go further?
That's quite a broad question, but as for your question raised over the dynamics between the artificial intelligence and our real life, I am with the idea that the online platform cannot and will not stand alone without any offline activities in the field. So they are more like supplementary relations that should benefit from one another. Because even if we create an online platform, we cannot sustain the viability of such platform without local engagement. And this local engagement can be made possible with the full-scale cooperation with the member states. So I believe that the member states' engagement in these emerging platforms will flow back into the development of the artificial intelligence.
Because, Mr. Park, why I'm asking you, because in your presentation you mentioned about your recreating of the primary sources to make second layer. But who's doing this recreation? It could be done by human body, or it could be done by artificial intelligence, because it's a big data, it's a big information. And if it will be done by artificial intelligence, to what extent it's going to be dots? You understand? I have my question, because recreation of, it's a big data of collection of big data information on the ICH along the Silk Road, indeed. And who will do this recreation of the first layer to the second layer? Because you mentioned that in your platform, Most important is the second layer, which is based on the first layer. And you recreating first layer. And who is doing this job? Is done by machine or is doing by human being? But it's okay. It's a philosophical question, but think about it. And Mehrdad, my last question is to you. To what extent artificial intelligence and Silk Road online platform, do you have some projects in future?
Okay.
You know, indeed, please.
Yeah, please.
Sorry if I was interrupting you. May I answer your question about who will be the one that creates the second layer, the information and content for the second layer? Okay, we believe that the artificial layer is deeply correlated with the machine learning, and out of the machine learning that flows back into the artificial layer, we believe that these technologies will be helpful to create the topics and the themes that are emerging each time. And these topics and the resources will be delivered to the Secretariat and also to the partner organizations that we are working with. And we will be the ones that would create the content and the information with the advanced ICT technologies for the second layer. So
Okay,
I hope
I understand. Yeah, it's a future oriented. And Mehrdad, just briefly, what do you think? Yes or no for future? Are you going to support this artificial intelligence in Silk Road online platform development?
Of course, if we can, let's say, take advantage of the potential of artificial intelligence, why not? We will do it. One of the major, let's say, fields that we may profit from this is our interactive atlas. The idea is to provide the data, let's say, encapsulate the data for visitors. But indeed, I am not an expert in this respect, probably Mr. Park. Now just listening to Mr. Park this morning, I have an idea to contact now further to ichCap to see whether we can do together.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Mehrdad, I will really invite you to cooperate with Mr. Park. Indeed, it could be very nice integration of the ichLinks with the Silk Road platform. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very sorry. We have a shortage of time. Of course, it was many issues, but I think we could discuss during the discussion of the final document. Now I am declaring the closure of the session 3 and giving the floor to Masters of Ceremony and the Secretariat. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Thank you very much for everybody for very active participation. I enjoyed very much to moderate the meeting, the session with you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank
Michael,
you.
the floor is yours.
It's good. Yes, good moderators.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Microphone? Okay. Thank you very much. If not long, it was a rather strong closing session. And we thank everyone for their hard work.